Vladimir Putin is out to make Russia great again, and that's a work in progress at best, and we are doing all that we can to thwart that. He has clearly made NATO great again. It is a central organization to this particular effort. Again, there is enormous unity. Yes, it may take a bit sometimes to get complete unity on something as dramatic as cutting off Russian access to the SWIFT financial transaction system. But it was very impressive, again, to see leader after leader at that Munich Security Conference express absolute solidarity in opposition to Russia and what Russia at that time might do. And now to see it continue as Russia has actually carried out this brutal, horrible invasion of their neighbor, and of really, in many respects, a fellow Russian country in some respects, but which their actions in recent years since 2014 have actually increased the sense of Ukrainian identity as separate and distinct from that of Russia.
Is offering a comprehensive analysis of the escalating tensions between Russia and Ukraine and the global response to the crisis. His commentary primarily focuses on how the Western world, led by NATO, has rallied in a united front against Russian actions. General Petraeus underscores the ambition of Russian President Vladimir Putin to reestablish Russia as a great power. However, he notes that this is a work in progress and is being actively countered by the international community. Petraeus commends NATO for its role as a central organization in this effort, expressing admiration for the unity displayed within the alliance. He acknowledges the difficulty in achieving complete unanimity, especially concerning decisions as impactful as cutting off Russian access to the SWIFT financial transaction system. However, he praises the resolve of world leaders in expressing solidarity against potential Russian aggression, as shown at the Munich Security Conference. He further emphasizes the significance of this unity as Russia continues its brutal invasion of Ukraine, an act that has consequently amplified the sense of Ukrainian identity as separate from Russia.
So this has been seriously impressive. And if you saw on day one, when Putin's forces went into Ukraine, the very first leader to announce the very first sanction was the Chancellor of Germany, in the job only for really still weeks after the 15, 16 years of Chancellor Merkel. And he announces the biggest sanction that anyone could have hoped for from Germany, which was to put the certification of Nord Stream 2, the natural gas pipeline direct from Russia into Germany, on hold. There are consequences for Germany in this regard as well, in terms of the price of natural gas in the final months of winter. So what has gone on here, I think, has been very, very impressive, and it has actually extended beyond NATO as well. It's our other partners in the Indo-Pacific region that have all stood up and said that borders are inviolable. This kind of aggression cannot be permitted. It's a complete and utter violation of all the principles that have really guided the world since the establishment of the UN Charter in the wake of World War II. And certainly it's the biggest event for Europe since the end of the Cold War. So great to see everyone come together in the way that we have.
Petraeus remarks on the impressive international response on the first day of Russia's invasion. He highlights Germany's decisive action to suspend the certification of Nord Stream 2, a direct natural gas pipeline from Russia, despite potential repercussions on Germany's gas prices. He notes that the collective response extends beyond NATO, encompassing partners in the Indo-Pacific region as well, reinforcing the principle of inviolability of borders and signaling a universal rejection of aggression. In Petraeus' view, the current crisis is the most significant event of Europe since the end of the Cold War. He commends the UK's role in leading some of these initiatives, such as being the first to land C-17s in Ukraine, an action followed by the US. Petraeus acknowledges that while sanctions can have a substantial impact over time, Russia has prepared for this eventually with over $600 billion in foreign reserves and a small debt-to-GDP ratio.
In the UK, by the way, of course, now no longer part of the EU, has actually walked point for several of these initiatives. They were the first C-17s to land in Ukraine. You know, normally the UK is drafting off the US, to use a bicycle analogy. In this case, the US drafted off the UK, certainly came in with 10 times the C-17s, as we should, but it was the UK that started it. So again, this is very impressive. And I think the administration does deserve a degree of praise and compliments for what it has done tirelessly, indefatigably, and very impressively. But these sanctions can have an enormous effect over time. The problem is, of course, that as was noted, he has prepared. Russia has over $600 billion in foreign reserves stored up. It has a very small debt to GDP ratio, many, many multiples less than ours, for example.
He suggests that despite these precautions, Russia may not be able to sustain its efforts in the long run, drawing a parallel to Russia's humiliating experience in Afghanistan. He emphasizes that while Russian forces may be able to overpower Ukraine's military, the widespread anti-Russian sentiment among the population and the high cost in casualties that Russia will have to pay may make it difficult for Russia to maintain control over the long term. The general also touches the role of the CIA in monitoring social media and various information sources, providing critical intelligence to national security policymakers. He commends the US for making this information publicly available quickly and accurately, a strategy he likens to his approach during his tenure as commander in Iraq. In conclusion, General Petraeus provides a nuanced understanding